Hey, thanks for joining me. I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about forgiveness and letting go of hurts. Ephesians 4:32 says, "Be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God through Christ has forgiven you." One of the hardest challenges in life is to be a forgiving person. I know when I was 15 years old, I experienced a personal betrayal that kept me bonded to anger for almost 20 years. Could you imagine? For 20 years, there was a piece of my mind and heart dedicated to holding on to hurt, anger, disgust, and unforgiveness. It took a whole lot of God for me to recognize that holding on to that was an issue. So God challenged me to learn how to forgive people who had hurt or offended me. This was not an easy path. Forgiveness is more of a lifestyle shift. By nature, we humans are sinful and are not naturally forgiving. It is easier to seek revenge than to set aside another person's wrong towards you. Forgiveness is far more of a choice and a feeling or emotion in the end. Choosing the path of forgiveness requires that we take a journey to release past hurt or resentment with God's help. When it comes to choosing forgiveness, whether we are forgiving ourselves or another person, the ability to forgive must be practiced over time. The Lord will help you learn to do this in a way that is beyond our own strength or power. So let me give you a practical exercise. Ask God to remind you of all the people who you have not forgiven, and write each name down on a list. Go through your list and make a conscious choice to let go of the offense and hurt. Remember that letting go of hurts and resentment is a process, and it's not a one-time event. In some instances, you might feel compelled to contact the person involved to seek forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't something that is easy for anyone. It certainly wasn't easy for Joseph, who in Genesis chapter 41 was betrayed by his own brothers because they were jealous of him for being their father's favorite. So they sold Joseph into slavery. And then, while he's serving his master in Egypt, he was wrongfully accused of a crime and put in prison. And it wasn't until he was brought before the Pharaoh to interpret his dream that he again was favored. So now some time has passed, and the crisis that Joseph predicted from the Pharaoh's dream brings his brothers into town because they are seeking food. His brothers didn't even recognize him, and in that moment, Joseph is faced with all the crimes that they had committed against him. How easy would it have been for Joseph to seek revenge? At this point, he is the Pharaoh's right-hand man, right? He probably could request anything of the Pharaoh, but Joseph doesn't do that. In that moment, he chose to forgive them. He chose to release his hurt and resentment. He reached absolution and forgiveness. God wants us to be able to do the same. God wants us to forget our troubles and give them to Him so that we can move forward and be fruitful, as Joseph did in 41:51. As Joseph did through chapters 41, verses 51 through 52. All right, so now it's time for the personal exercise. Choosing to forgive is healthy emotionally and spiritually because it frees you to move on with your life. I want you to think of a person who you have had a very difficult time forgiving. Take some time to write out what that person did to you in detail. I want you to include all of your associated emotion that played out during the encounter. And once you are done, I want you to write at the bottom of the paper, "I choose to forgive," and then write the person's name, "for," and then write their offense. And now take that piece of paper and get rid of it. Throw it away, burn it, mail it to the person, or hide it away in your sock drawer. The whole point of this exercise is to let go and let God. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I love you all, and blessings.